At Calgary Wild FC, we honor and acknowledge that this land belongs to the Treaty 7 territory. The beauty of life is that you'll never know where it'll lead you. Join Maaike, Kaylee, Kelly, and I as they discuss how purpose-driven action has led them to where they are today. Welcome to The Wild Journey, the official podcast of Calgary Wild FC. I'm your host, Farkhunda Muhtaj, midfielder and proud community ambassador for the Wild. This podcast is all about building a deeper connection between our club and you, giving our incredible fans a front row seat, uncovering stories of passion and purpose beyond the pitch. So excited to welcome two incredible players whose football journeys have taken them across the globe together and ultimately brought them right here to Calgary. First, we have Kaylee Books, a Calgary native and defender for Calgary Wild FC. She holds a degree in cognitive sciences with a specialization in neuroscience from Rice University and previously played for Treaty United FC in Ireland. Joining her is Maaike Roelfsema, a Dutch international and fellow Wild defender, also a graduate at Rice University with a degree in psychology. Maaike played around Europe and most recently played alongside Kaylee at Treaty United. I'm thrilled to have both of you on the Wild Journey today. Welcome, Maaike and Kaylee.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely.
Excited.
I'm going to start off with you, Kaylee. You're definitely one of the most unique and creative people I know. I'd love to learn more about your upbringing. What was it like and how has it led you to this journey you're on today?
Yeah, so I'm from Calgary. I grew up in Springbank, so just outside the city on a little bit of land, not like an actual farm girl, but enough space that it was a little bit country vibes. Grew up playing hockey and then got into soccer. And then when I was 14, I had to decide which of those I was choosing. Went with soccer, obviously, and played for a few different clubs in Calgary. Started at Blizzards, that was my main club, and then Southwest United as well after that. And then in high school, I committed to Rice University in Texas and made that jump when I was 17. Met Maaike, obviously, there. And then soccer-wise, we had a really great career when we were there, and we got to break some school records, made it to the Sweet 16, and I got to represent Canada at the U20 level, so that was really obviously a privilege as well. And then went and tried corporate for a year, decided to come back to football, and met Maaike in Ireland. And
Well, I met you in
technically
Ireland.
She followed me.
I was gonna say.
I want everyone.
I've been following you around, whatever.
For the record, I was at Rice first, and I was at Treaty first,
and I was here
committed.
first.
And I was committed here.
I got
first.
the email first.
So, yeah, ended up here, and now I'm back in Calgary, which is crazy because I've been abroad since I was 17. So it's
Wow.
yeah, a long
Full
time
circle.
coming. Very full circle.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it seems like you're the leader in Maaike's life.
Yeah, whatever. That is fine.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I mean, Maaike, you grew up in the Netherlands. Obviously, Dutch culture is quite different from North American culture. European culture in general
Yeah, I
is
would say
very
so.
different.
Yeah.
For sure. I had the privilege of playing in the Netherlands
I
for a
know.
few years, so
I
I'm
know.
definitely aware. Football is what you live and breathe, but I know for you, it's been way more than football since you were a kid. Do you want to walk me through that and then how that led you to follow Maaike around the world?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think growing up, in Holland especially, it was not very normal for girls to play soccer. So that was, I think, a pretty, for most people, it was what is she doing? But I just always loved playing soccer at school, and it was kind of the only thing I wanted to do. So my parents were like, whatever, we'll go with it. And so I played with boys until I was 15, which was definitely an interesting experience. But I think it also really made me the player I am right now. And I think in general, soccer is so much more than just soccer. I feel like you learn so many important lessons and values throughout, like, obviously living abroad, but meeting so many amazing people from different cultures. And I think in general, soccer just, like, it teaches you how to be a leader, how to communicate with people, how to persevere, how to how to be resilient. And I think if I think back about my career, I've definitely had a little bit of everything. So I think it's pushed me to be the person I am today, which I think without soccer, I wouldn't obviously be here right now. I wouldn't have met the amazing people I have. So I'm very grateful for that. Although sometimes it's been really hard. I think, I played with boys until I was 15. At some point, it just wasn't doable anymore. It wasn't fun anymore either. And so I got the opportunity to play for the youth team that they were creating for one of the professional teams. So this was a fully new thing. But because of that, I had to move places and I had to travel a lot, which I didn't really want to take that risk in the beginning. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm too scared. And then at some point, my mom was like, okay, so you're not going to do it. That's fine. We thought so. And I was like, no, I'll do it. I'm going to do it.
Reverse psychology.
Stubborn.
Eh?
I know.
No, but
smart.
she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah.
My mom knew exactly.
It was strategic.
She says no, but
No, she knew.
yeah. And then I got to play there, and I think that really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And that was really, really fun, really what I needed. And then I got to play for the full team, and you've played against them.
Yeah.
So fun, such a small world. And I think I was just feeling very stuck in Holland. And I knew someone who had played in college, and they were telling me about their experience, and it sounded so cool. And I was like, I feel like I want to do that, almost with the mindset of overcoming my fears. I was like, if I can do this, if I can go to college and, like, I didn't speak English quite well, I can basically do anything. Like, what can I not do? So I went to Boston College first, and it was really hard. I think when you can't, like, express yourself, you can't really be yourself. I think a lot of people that haven't had to learn a second language don't really know what that's like, but it is really hard. My team thought I was mute for the first 4 months, which was really great. But I think I found my way. And eventually we had a coaching change, and he kind of forced me to transfer, which was really hard after I just had built up my life there. And then I went to Rice, and then I met Kaylee. And that was, although it was a forced decision, the best experience I could have ever had. Like, I didn't even know that that's what I needed. And I mean, we just met so many amazing people that are still, like, some of our best friends. And obviously, I wouldn't be here if I never went there. And then, as Kaylee said, we had a really good time. We did really well. And then, unfortunately, I tore my ACL right before the end, and that kind of changed my career. So it took a long time to get back, and since then I played in Cyprus and Denmark, and then Kaylee was playing in Ireland, and she said, come on over, you will love this experience. So I did, and now we're here. So
What a blessing in disguise, though, right? Mm-hmm. At the time, it may have felt very difficult to be pushed out of the Boston College system, but if it wasn't for Rice University and the connections and friendships you developed, you certainly wouldn't be here, possibly.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah. And what a good friend Kaylee has been throughout these years, so supportive and making sure that you're taken care of with some of the challenges that you went through. Kaylee, for you, what really stands out to me is that your journey to football hasn't been easy by any means. When you did your player presentation early on, you shared that you went backpacking across the world, across most of Europe, if I'm not mistaken, and traveled to many destinations, trialed at a few places, and you left your stable career to pursue your dream. Can you walk us through that? What led you to take such a bold decision?
Yeah.
Ooh. I think, and we've spoken about all this kind of stuff lots, but I feel like we were just talking the other day about like what is failure and what, like how we would define that. And I think that like losing to fear, I think in life, I think that's failure.
Not trying.
So I feel like in that situation, I was super comfortable. Like I had like settled into like a life in a city with a really stable like corporate job. But I think there was this piece of me that just had like a fear that I would regret not trying. And so I started like after about 6 months in New York City is when I was like, okay, hold on. I think I might want to come back to this. So I joined basically like a beer league team to start it off. Well, I did like 2 months of physio first just to like
get your body
re-prep my muscles and get myself feeling good again before I even touched a soccer ball. And then I joined a beer league, and that was like my second stage, which was so fun. It was a bunch of like 40-year-old European men who had like something to prove.
They can actually be
They're really good. They were really good.
I believe it.
Yeah, so we did that, and then it just came down to it, and I didn't really have a plan, but it's like however it went was how it was going to go, and I was going to either like it was either going to be an easy journey or it was going to be something that like taught me a lot about like rejection and about like what it like just the idea of failure, and that failure is just like not
yeah, failure is not trying.
Failure's
but when
not
you're
trying.
trying, you're not really failing.
Yeah. So I had one trial lined up in Denmark, and that was what I booked my flight for. So I booked a one-way flight. It ended up being like 2.5 months, I think, 14 countries. And it was basically 6 trials across Europe. And I was doing like a week of backpacking. I looked ridiculous.
You were something.
I visited Maaike twice throughout this time that I was in Europe.
Was she in the Netherlands at the time?
I was in Denmark.
In Denmark.
At the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked ridiculous. I had like my backpack, and then I had my cleats like
Hanging
from my backpack. And it was like a week of traveling, of like solo for a lot of it and just like meeting people, and then a week of like getting thrown into a fully professional environment.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Like it was ridiculous.
It's so cool too.
So cool.
Such a cool experience.
Yeah. So that it was a long journey, and I kind of I had to make a lot of adjustments as I went, of like planning on going somewhere. Like I was going to a trial in Barcelona, and they had to delay it a week. So I like didn't have anywhere to go. So I was like, all right, where can I go? I ended up in Portugal, like in the south of Portugal, just like existing, kind of waiting it out, and like running on the beach or whatever it is that I needed to do to stay fit. And then it all eventually came together, but it wasn't, it was like not an easy journey. No. And I think when I quit my job, I had nothing like planned or prepped. It was like, just figure it out. But similarly, I think ending up in Ireland, like it was a great opportunity. Like it gave me everything that I needed it to, in terms of just like being able to go somewhere that I could like make an impact and get minutes and do what I needed to do to build my resume for what was next. But like also it was just like about a million times more about the people that I met, and like
the life you got to live.
The life I got to live, and like really getting to a place that like just appreciating the lifestyle. I think what we love so much about this lifestyle too is that it gives us space to pursue the things that we want to pursue, which is like a lot of time doing nothing. But it's like,
no, it's like taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we're basically getting paid to take care of our health, and to like work out and to eat good food, and like to take care of our mental space, or our mental, I think that's the cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the best part.
What did you learn about yourself throughout that journey? Because like you mentioned, it may have looked ridiculous to others, you know, a week on, a week off, and then trying to navigate what's next when you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
I think it's very brave.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that would ever think of something like this.
I did learn a lot about myself. I think that it gave me a sense of peace. I think that I'm going to bring with me for the rest of my life, because it's like I learned that no matter what situation I was in, when I just had to rely like only on myself for everything, for like how am I getting anywhere, and then having to like perform and all the things that came with that, like there was nobody to catch me. Like I feel like I'm used to having this big safety net, and then you go and you're across the world, and not everyone, I feel bad I don't speak other languages. Like I would love to be able to come to countries and meet them where they're at, but like I don't. So then I'm there and just in Sweden, and everyone, like the coach is speaking in Swedish, and it's just like chaos. But it's also like
So cool.
it's so cool, and so like, and it's always okay. Like
Yeah.
you figure it out no matter what you get thrown. So
I feel like it's a lot of trust. I think we talked about like this experience when you were going through it. I
Yeah.
remember when like you didn't have a contract and you went to all these trials,
Yeah.
and I feel like we said that to each other, like it's about acceptance and
Yeah.
trust. And I feel like when you just like trust that it's gonna work out the way it should,
Mm-hmm.
even like if that's not what you think you want at the moment.
Yeah.
Like we said that,
Yeah.
like, okay, if nothing works out, like something else will open up that maybe is meant for you. And then like, I was like, just like, don't stress. It figures itself out.
Yeah.
Like it always does. And then I feel like you got that trial in Ireland, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like, wow, like it really, like if you're being brave, you get rewarded.
Yes.
I really like
that
that.
was actually, that was my screensaver at the time while I was doing this, had like 6 points on it. And one of them was like when you're brave, the universe rewards you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we spoke about that at the time.
Definitely.
Probably.
At some point.
Yeah.
But I agree.
Well, I also think it's like, it's interesting because she was like, you were a part of that journey as much as you could have been while you were obviously playing.
Yeah.
But I think that you saw like what was kind of happening. And I think that we have this idea that there's like, that we can make good decisions or bad decisions for ourselves. And it's like, we like destroy ourselves of like, oh, if this happens, I'm going to be happy. Or
Yeah.
if this happens, I'm not going to be happy. And it's just like, it's not real. It's just like these, like, what am I trying to say?
I mean, happiness is not a destination, right? Like
Yeah.
what people assume it is. And I think Zlatan Ibrahimovic says it so well, and I'm sure you heard, happiness is moments, right? So
Yeah.
throughout that process, you had challenges, but you had moments where you built good connections, relationships. You have amazing memories to look back to, and it's those moments that you can consistently reflect upon.
Yeah.
And I love your mindset of having faith in the process and taking calculated risks, because you don't want to live with regret. And I think that's a lot of what female footballers do, is let me pursue this. I know many years back now the circumstances are different, but in many places it's not, where the pay doesn't make sense. Like why leave a corporate position to pursue this dream, but also why live with regret when you know you could have achieved this dream of yours? And I know similarly, Maaike, you've been around the world, played in a few countries in Europe. You've had your fair bit of challenges, but the mindset around those challenges has allowed you to learn a lot about yourself, be intentional with your time, and just grow and develop. What was it like? I know in the face of adversity, you've had some injuries, but you said those injuries were times that you could now make time for yourself and your well-being, mental
Yeah.
well-being.
Yeah, I think in college especially, it's like everything is so busy and crazy, and you're trying to perform well in school and in soccer, and a lot of the times you just don't really think about yourself, or like you don't have time to just like be with yourself and just be. And I think that is so important now that I've learned that now, where I always thought I was an extreme extrovert. And I still love being around people, but I know the balance is so important. And I think I never had that as much. And then I tore my ACL, and eventually started playing in Cyprus, but I couldn't play because I was still rehabbing. And I mean, obviously I didn't have school anymore. I couldn't play soccer. So all of a sudden it was like, I just have so much time. Like, what do I do with this? I'd never had so much time. And I think a lot of players who come out of college and even like on our team are like, wow, like it's so much more time when you're not studying. And I think I struggled with that in the beginning. And then I was like, okay, let me figure out like, what do I want with this? Like, I think so many people wish they had more time, and we have this beautiful privilege, or especially there when we only trained like at night. So like I had all day of like, okay, how do I structure my days so that I feel the best, that I can feel and be the best person I can be. And I think I had a friend there who was like very intentional about her things. And she had played like in Italy and like in Sweden. And I think I learned a lot from her, and she kind of became my like mentor in that. And it's so crazy because I feel like you always meet people when you need them, even though you don't know yet. So in the beginning, I was very hesitant of all the things that she was saying. And then I slowly started doing it, and I was like, wow, this is really helping. So I started like waking up early and reading a lot of like books on topics that I found really interesting. And I had never had the time for that. And I think we still do that a lot. We still read a lot of books. And I started meditating and going for a lot of walks by myself and doing yoga. And I feel like all those little things, I just started to feel so good.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like I didn't even know I could feel this good. And it's just that whole thing of taking care of yourself. And I was like cooking a lot and like just very intentional about my time. And like spending it a lot in silence and just by myself. And I think that pushes you to be very conscious. And then when you're conscious, you can really like make decisions on what you're thinking and what you want. And I started to think of like, okay, like what are my values? And I started journaling and writing those down. And I think with all those things combined, I got so much more intentional about what I wanted with my time, how I wanted to live my life, what the types of like, values I wanted to have. And I think that was such an amazing journey. And I learned so many things, and I felt like I was growing in ways that I didn't even know were possible. And I think everyone is searching for that. Like, I think everyone wants to grow or get better, whether that's like in soccer getting better, or like as a person. And I think that gives a lot of meaning to life.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting because you both are roommates and have a very similar mindset to life. I know you both are on this spiritual journey. And what that means is, again, like you mentioned, being intentional with your time, but also doing things that maybe individuals your age wouldn't think of, like limiting tech use to the point where you both didn't even care if you had Wi-Fi.
Yeah, for like 2 months.
Yeah. Or Maaike not even caring if she had a phone plan, but realized that, you know, you became her assistant all of a sudden.
I
didn't want to put that burden on Kaylee any longer.
Yeah, but what's it like? What does that routine look like? Is it two individuals that are roommates, teammates as well, having their own journey of spirituality in silos almost? Or are you connecting on shared values, reflecting together, and growing as a unit?
Well, I think right now, like one of the spiritual books that I'm reading is one that Maaike has read and like got a lot from. So I think it's been a slow read. What did it take you, like 6 months to read it?
Yeah.
Because you're like taking notes, and it's just like every sentence is like a lot to take in.
I know.
So
you
I'm
really
like,
have to sit on every sentence.
What's the book?
A New Earth.
A New Earth. I've never heard of it.
It's good.
Yeah, it's like it ties into that kind of consciousness conversation that Maaike was having about like presence and awareness and like
being.
Yeah.
And finding like your pockets of peace and happiness. And so I think with stuff like that, there's lots of opportunities for us to share because we've learned different things thus far in our journeys and the books that we've read, and getting to share those is really fun. I think that our like little routine, it's usually like you're up before I am.
Yeah.
But I think we have very quiet mornings. It's mostly
We wake up, we see each other, and it's like, hi.
just say hi and then go about like,
Yeah, Maaike doesn't even make her breakfast at home because she brings it to the club.
yeah.
Very quiet.
Yeah, very quiet. I think part of that is because that's a routine that you found that you appreciated so much. And then also personally, I like quiet for my first couple of hours.
Kaylee really, if you start talking to her,
I don't want to hear it
or
in the morning.
loud sounds,
Yeah.
does not go well.
But I think like, so for those first couple hours, like, I mean, we don't have a TV or anything. So it's like our books definitely help both of us.
We have this patio. It's really nice.
Yeah.
We have one comfy chair on the patio.
It's a great chair.
So great chair. We take turns sitting on the chair
Yeah, and reading in
our
the sun.
books.
That's hilarious.
Because I wake up earlier.
She's there first.
And then so
and
I go
read
first,
in bed.
and then you're next.
Yeah, and then I come out and then I take the chair usually.
Is the purpose of the one chair to be in silence, or we just want one
We
chair?
just have one chair.
We just only have one chair.
One comfy chair. We have two,
Yeah.
but like they're not reading chairs, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
You might want
So-
to invest in another
We
chair.
low-key,
Yeah, we
that
should.
would be really nice.
Yeah. So I think that we're on these independent journeys based off
Right.
of like what it is that we're reading or like going through. But I also think that you specifically are very, very intentional with the types of questions that you ask. And I think usually when we do share in that like journey, it'll just be like us sitting, having dinner in silence. A lot of it, like, I feel like the big questions
We're like an old married
are,
couple.
yeah, are after silence, where we're just
I can see
sitting, drinking our teas, looking out, and then Maaike will be like, what's something you've asked me recently?
I think I asked you recently, like, what do you think is the most interesting thing about yourself?
Yeah, that was
or
a
your
recent
life?
one. Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about failure pretty recently as well. And then we discuss, and I think those are the moments where we more share in our journeys and perspectives.
Yeah.
But I also think we just know so much about each other already that sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what to ask you because
You already know?
I know. Like there's so many
Yeah.
good questions where I'm like, wait, I've already asked you this. I can't ask you this another time.
Yeah.
It's like I need to get really creative in my questions to get like to something interesting, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think that about that sometimes where I'm like, wow, like, but I have already asked Kaylee this.
Yeah, that does happen.
But I feel like we both like interesting questions that are challenging.
Yeah.
That make you think. And I think we're both not afraid to like be vulnerable and to share and to really like think about those things, even if it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of why we have like gotten along so well and become the kind of friends that we have. Like I think it comes from a willingness to be vulnerable.
Yes.
For
Because
sure.
I feel like that's where connection comes from. Like you can't connect with people unless you're willing to be vulnerable.
And I feel like vulnerability comes, of course, from those deep conversations. It can't be superficial, but I feel like I have a really good relationship with everyone on the team, and I think everyone does with each other.
Yeah.
That's just the culture of the team and how well everyone gets along.
For sure.
But I feel like I can have deep conversations with you both and really connect with you from, a spiritual perspective or just like time management and being intentional and conscious, because that's something that I value quite a bit as well. And going into consciousness, that always leads to having a purpose beyond the game and beyond the pitch, right? Where do you see yourself impacting the most, both within or maybe post-career in your lives?
We've spoken about this before.
I feel like that has been like a lot of our conversations
Yeah.
lately about fulfillment and purpose and meaning, which I feel like I'm still navigating of like, how do you really make that impact?
Yeah. Well, I love that you even reached out this year and shared that you want to be fully invested and embedded in the community and how to do that.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, you're the right person to ask. I feel like
thanks.
you're very involved, and I feel like that is one of your values, and I really like appreciate that about you. So yeah, I felt like you could give me some advice of what to do. Because I do feel every time I think I go out into the community and I connect with all these people, it's like it fills up my cup every time. Like I get so excited and I always leave like just feeling so fulfilled in that way. And I want to do more of that. But I think it's sometimes hard when you just move to a new country.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that community or you don't have that like access as much. But at the same time, it's like, just gotta do it yourself. Like no one's gonna do that for you. You need to ask people and like get involved. It's kind of like action. You need to take action.
Right.
You can want a lot. And I think that's something I definitely struggle with. I think I have a lot of great ideas and I want to do a lot of things, but to actually put it into action is a lot harder. I think you're a lot better with that. I really value you for that. I think I learn from that as well. And we talked about this too. You were like, yeah, go sit down, write down some places and go volunteer, go do it. So I think I definitely, want to get more involved, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is like. And I think from studying psychology, I just love connecting with people. And I think even like challenging people through asking questions is one of the most powerful things. So I think eventually I want to do something with that, like challenging people, pushing people out of their comfort zone. Like, I think I have found through soccer a really great way of like living life that's very healthy and like, I think rewarding in a lot of ways, whereas that like spiritually, mentally, like physically. And I feel like I want to share that with people and inspire people. But what that will look like exactly, I haven't found. But I think I'm very much the type of person that's like, it will present itself the way it should.
Exactly.
Like, I will find my path.
And I love that you think that way, because people feel that you have to have your life planned out. Everything needs to be mapped. There's a linear road to success, and you know that's far from reality. And you're willing to take any route possible to achieve that pursuit or that purpose or that
and I
goal.
think the question is like, what is success?
Yeah.
I think that is same as like, what is failure?
Yeah.
I think success is very different the way we talk about it than it is for most people, where it's like the like little things or in like pushing ourselves. Yeah.
And what does that look like for you, Kaylee? The impact that you want to drive?
I feel like right now, similar. I think that right now I think it's about empowerment. And I think that is like on a broad scale and on a micro scale within my individual relationships. Like obviously the chance to be a part of this team gives us like a platform where somehow we get to empower people. And that's like, I think every time it happens, we're all just like, whoa.
I know, I
like,
forget.
Yeah.
I'm like,
but
wow.
to have a little girl come up and be like, you're my hero. And I'm like, whoa. Like,
I didn't know
what
that.
What did I do
I just
to
kick
deserve,
a ball.
like to get there? I just kick a ball. But I think that like, I have a lot of belief in the people around me. And that's like on the team and it's in my individual relationships. And like, I so desperately want everyone to be brave and to like set fear aside and to just like do whatever it is that is gonna bring them joy, like regardless of these expectations that they feel like other people are putting on them. So I think that's the big one for me, is just like being able to more honestly in small conversations than on this big scale. I mean, it's great we get to do this in a big scale, but I think like within my individual relationships, just like help support people in terms of just like go, whatever it is, like go and be brave. And if you
that.
quote unquote fail, then what? You learned something? Okay, like great. Accept whatever it is that you're given and go again. Like that's what I hope to bring.
And I mean, I think because you live that way.
Yeah.
And I think in that sense, you're like such a role model, right? It's like you're already living it. And so you almost don't even have to like say it. It's just like, just by being you're already showing people like, hey, this is a great way of being brave. Like, look, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it.
That's amazing. It's just so genuine, the both of you, your desire to give back, to grow, to inspire. And I feel like I can speak to you all for days about this topic. I'm going to wrap up with a quick rapid fire and ask you each a question. Whatever comes up to your mind, answer as quick as possible. And then I'm going to ask you one final question to end off the day. Okay, I'll start with you, Kaylee.
Okay.
What's your favorite book?
I know it's rapid fire. I know it's supposed to be quick. I think that
I couldn't do it.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I'm like, oh gosh. My favorite book.
What is
It
a
might
favorite?
be what's the 50 what's the official
50
title?
Rules of Love?
Yeah. I think
The 40 Rules of Love. I think it's
clearly
40.
I love it. The 40 Rules of Love. Great book.
Great book.
I also really like Jodi Picoult a lot as an author.
Awesome.
Okay.
We'll put that on our reading
Yeah.
list. I feel like I already know this.
Oh, good. Then I know.
Your go-to breakfast meal.
I feel like at the moment it would be a mug cake, which I learned from Kaylee. It's really easy and it's really good.
This is the nicest things I've ever shown my friends. Everyone that I teach how to do a mug cake will make it for breakfast every day for the rest of their life.
I know.
Yeah, is this what you bring to the
This
club
is what
every
I bring,
single morning?
Yeah. This is what I bring.
And you're like clanking your spoon as the staffer.
Wow, I think Kaylee can so
Exactly.
relate to
Thank you for saying that. At the start of this year, she'd put in her AirPods so she couldn't hear herself, and she'd make this mug cake. And then she would just like clang the spoon. Like it was,
Is Kaylee still sleeping?
I'm sleeping or I'm like up and reading, but like, yeah, she's like a spoon clanker.
Yeah, I asked you like, okay, what is the most annoying thing about living with me?
Yeah.
You said that.
This is like definitely
Well, I
that.
just don't understand why you don't bring like the portable containers. You literally bring like a home
Just a
glass
bowl.
bowl.
Yeah.
With the, but you
Just
do
gotta be
you.
different, you know?
You do you, Maaike. Morning person or night owl, Kaylee?
Like kind of a balance, honestly. Not too much of either,
Yeah.
but
Wrong answer.
compared to you, I right smack in the middle.
Okay. What do you both consider morning? Because I feel after chatting with Maaike earlier,
Yeah.
your morning is not a morning.
Oh, I think morning for me is like 7:15.
Yeah.
That is morning.
Okay, that's what time you wake up?
That's what I wake up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's more like 8.
Okay, so you wouldn't be a morning person then, because 7:15 is late for a morning person. Are you a morning person?
Wow.
Well, I think also we're such morning people, like with ourselves.
Yeah,
Where it's
okay.
like normally it's like a morning person is like, oh, they're up and they're loud and they're yelling. Like we're
Yeah.
not that.
Yeah.
But we like our mornings are our safe space. I think like that
Yeah.
is like where we find a lot of like
Yeah.
peace.
I feel like 7, if you could sleep into 11 because you don't have anything until then,
Okay.
is quite early for most people. Most people on our team are like, why are you up at 7?
Yeah.
You chose to be up at 7 when you could sleep in.
That's true. For the team, that's definitely a morning
Yeah.
person.
Yes.
I should agree. Okay, coffee or tea, Maaike?
Oh, easy tea.
Yeah?
We drink so much tea.
Big tea girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both of you?
Yeah. Both of us.
What's your hidden talent, Kaylee?
Let's see.
I can like recite some things. Like I can do like
I don't know this.
I can do
What
like
can you recite?
like-
That's why it's hidden.
like 40 digits of pi. I can do like the alphabet backwards. Like
Okay.
so some little
Wait, give us some
reciting
pie.
things? How
It is-
much of pi?
I've actually heard this. It's impressive.
I can
Give
do a
us
bit of
40
pi.
rules of pie.
Not Do you want me to?
Yeah, go.
Okay, I could just say it really
Maybe
quick.
we won't put her on the spot because it's a hidden talent for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, your pregame ritual.
Put my cleats on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No
that's
kidding.
it.
I thought you played barefoot, Maaike.
Usually I like to, but
Yeah.
wasn't allowed.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Okay. Well, Maaike and Kaylee, this was truly an amazing conversation, and I could have spoke to you both forever, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to wrap up with one small piece of advice that you have received that you'd love to share with the listeners that has impacted you in a positive way.
Okay. One thing
Okay.
One thing that I really like, which I learned for the first time throughout college multiple times, but I think that we hold a lot of stress, basically all of us in our lives. And I know in this sport also, like, there's a lot of what we call stress, like going into games. And I think that it's really valuable if we can look at stress as like a tool instead of something that is like bringing us down or like a negative experience. Because really, like, let's go pre-game. If you're stressed, your heart's pounding, like you have more blood in your extremities. It's all of the things that your body needs to perform well.
Yeah.
It's a tool. So I think like being able to like breathe with your stress and accept it as like this, me and my body are on the same team working towards the same goal. This is not working against me. This is me preparing myself to go and perform, to be sharp and like to do my best.
Right.
And I know there's like a lot of negative health effects around being stressed, but like there's some science behind if you're able to view your stress in a positive way, then that like negates the negative effects
Yeah.
of
Healthy stress.
being stressed. So
For sure.
I think that's,
I mean, stress is pressure, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
pressure is privilege, as we know, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
People are counting on you because they believe in you.
and even fear. It's like you
Yeah.
wouldn't be scared if you didn't care. Like it's a
Right.
beautiful thing to care enough about something that you're scared.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you told me this like a couple weeks ago.
Which one?
When I was
That?
getting stressed.
Oh,
You
did
said, yeah, you said use your stress as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
Did it help?
It did help.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
That's good.
Good advice.
Thanks.
There we are. Well, thank you both for the fantastic conversation, and looking forward to seeing you both grow on and off the pitch this season.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Far.
much.
That was great.
It's really fun.
Hey everyone, enjoying the episode so far? Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, and comment, and stay tuned for what's ahead in the episode. Welcome back to the Wild Journey. Today's guest brings a very unique perspective. I'm excited to be joined by Kelly Mannix, Director of Brand for Calgary Wild FC. With an honors BA in kinesiology from the University of Western Ontario, she combines her lifelong passion for sport with marketing expertise. A host of the Parlay podcast during COVID-19, she focused on human connection through inspiring interviews. I'm so happy to have you here today. Thanks for joining me, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
So earlier, as we were chatting, I came to realize that you're actually from Ontario. I didn't know that.
I am like most Calgarians. I'm not authentically from Calgary, but being here almost 20 years now, I definitely feel like Calgary is home. I've loved living in the city of Calgary.
And what was that transition like from Ontario to Calgary, and what brought you out to Calgary?
Love brought me here, I guess you could say. Yes, love did bring me here, and I'm so grateful for it. And to be honest, I grew up in a really small town in southern Ontario, and Calgary seemed like a big jump in some respects, but after being here, luckily my now husband's friends and family were super, super welcoming, and it kind of just felt very natural to be here. They were very warm and accommodating, and I just felt at home instantly. And, a lot of them described Calgary to me as a big, small town.
Yeah.
I definitely say that now to people all the time. Calgary is a big, small town. There's like 3 degrees of separation between like lots of people. So it's a very easy place to settle into and get to know people. And there's lots to do in the city. So people are very friendly.
For sure. Coming from Toronto, I totally agree with you. It is a big, small town, as you like to say. Everyone knows each other, it seems. Everyone's very connected with each other, which is great, and a lot of collaboration does happen. And I know you have a background in kinesiology. Were you ever an athlete?
Not at the level of like the team of Wild FC, but sports played a huge role in my life, which is effectively what brought me to the club. I played pretty much any sport that I had access to, and I feel like it just really helped shape who I am. You learn a lot of amazing lessons, whether you're an individual or team sport, and even better if you have a taste of both. And I just always loved the camaraderie of sport. Winning and losing, you don't have to necessarily do on your own. You learn to be a good teammate. You have to do that in your professional life as well. And I think another big thing, especially being a woman and a young girl, sports was a place where I felt like it was a really confidence building environment. And so I wanted to be part of bringing that to the city and building the next chapter so that young girls could live in a world where professional sport was not a dream anymore, like it was attainable.
And it's crazy to know that you're the first ever director of brand at the club. I shouldn't say crazy. It's an honor to have that role, of course. But how do you possess a role like that? Where does it come from?
But I guess putting your hand up for it when the club was literally a volunteer organization for quite some time. It was quite a few people. Deanna was just on the podcast of the first episode, and she really was the one who approached me and said, we're going to do this thing. I really think you should be part of it. And so with my background being more on the marketing side, both in sport, I've done consulting in wellness as well. And I've gone through a few rebrands or new brands with some of the other companies that I'd worked with. And so that's an area that I had interest and some expertise in. And so we, as volunteers, we all kind of just built in our areas of expertise and then crossed over. And then as the club got off the ground as an actual organization, I was, they said, would you like to continue? And I said, yes. And so that's kind of how it came to be, was just, putting your hand up and kind of being there and really digging in. Like we, as a volunteer organization, it was a big lift. It was a heavy lift. It was pretty much like a full-time job. Yeah. And the people who have been involved with it have been very, very dedicated. And, I give them kudos for the amount of hours that they've put in, because that's what really, really made this a reality.
And the amount of hours that you put in as well. I feel like I'll message you on Teams at like 10 p.m. and I get a response a minute later. And sometimes for me personally, the evenings work out better because during the day, of course, we have football. But I'm looking at you all and I'm thinking to myself, she definitely was working all day, all weekend. And so being part of a startup is obviously time consuming. It's very taxing, but you truly believe in it. And that's why you put all that time and energy towards it. And a club like the Wild has such a strong purpose, and you've built such a strong foundation with the brand. What is it like to be a part of a startup in the sport industry?
Well, it's definitely like nothing I've ever been part of before. Startups are always crazy and chaotic, and I've been part of a few. And so, there's a certain level of chaos that you anticipate. The one thing that you cannot change in sport is your timeline is definite. Like there's no, say you're launching a tech app. You're like, okay, well, we've got a few more bugs to work out. Oh, it's okay if we just push this launch potentially like a week or two. And that's not to diminish app building, because that is something I cannot do, but it's not as public. Right. When you're in a new league and you have broadcast deals and schedules are set, like your first match is going whether your scoreboard's working or not. Like there's so many things that need to be in place for things to go well. And so, yeah, it's like an all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Some days it's all hours of the day and night to get it over the line. I'll say it's evened out now that we've got a few matches under our belt, but then you just continuously build, though. You always want to better from, whatever the last that you did. You're always trying to, like, from a brand perspective, you're always, you can never just rest. You always have to try and build more, reach more fans, engage more people, come up with new ideas. So I'd say there's more of a cadence. It's not as frantic as a sports startup is prior to starting your first season.
For sure.
I don't know if I'll ever have another experience like that again. It's truly wild, like pun intended. We launched the club late May last year, and 10 months later we were on the pitch.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's crazy to me personally because I was able to connect with you all staff members many months before the NSL even started, actually before players were even signed.
Yes.
And I saw the amount of work that went into every single part of building this club. And a lot of things we take for granted, and it's the little details that make the big difference at the end. But what I've realized is you're never going to catch up in your role. Because there's always things that are piling up. There's always more that you can do. And there's always more that you can improve and grow on. What's the biggest thing that you've learned throughout this experience so far? Or something that almost caught you off guard and you didn't anticipate throughout this process?
This is going to sound like so silly, but for so long you're just working and you're working and you're working and you have nothing to, I don't want to say nothing to show for it, but we had launched the club name and the brand and the badge and all of that stuff. But then you're like right back at it. And then, we didn't have any players. We were still working on where we were going to play. Like it was still this kind of all these pieces that were kind of like floating in the ether that we were trying to put together. And honestly, going to Vancouver for the first match, it was like, oh, it's really going to happen. Yeah. Like it kind of takes a while when you're kind of head in the sand and you're just working away. You have to like pull yourself out and get some perspective and look at it and go, look at what all this hard work has produced. Yeah. Like this thing that we were talking about that we said we wanted to do, that people have been working so hard for, like it's happening. Yeah. And that was very surreal being in Vancouver. It's like, yeah, that was the whole point, Kelly. Like that everybody knows that this was going to happen. But then when it actually does, I think that for me has been kind of the most surreal moment, was just seeing it happen. And then I think there's been like a fallout of more and more and more of those type of moments. Like, at the end of every home match, when I see kids lined up like 4 and 5 deep to have all of your signatures, and now we have Echo, and like Echo is such a fan favorite, and I was on Echo duty this past weekend, and like just the joy that you're bringing to people, like you realize the impact that this is having on people in so many different ways it's really crazy.
Yeah, no, for real. The impact is immeasurable, as I like to say. Just individuals seeing themselves reflected in the players, and us players, I think, being very conscious about what this role means and the privilege that comes with it, and how we want to present ourselves as individuals, as players of this incredible club as well. For you, you have a young daughter. What has this meant to her, whether she plays sport or not? Does she feel like she can achieve her dreams because there are more female leaders in this city?
I think so. My daughter is not a soccer player. I have more of an artistic child, so it's kind of funny that I'm very hardcore sports. But I will say she's really become an amazing fan. Awesome. She went from being on the plane asking me on the way to Vancouver, Mom, can you like tell me more of the rules so that I understand more of what's going on during the match?
That's cute.
To when we left, like, I don't like that team. They did this and they did that. And next time we should do this and that. So it's been really funny to, watch her evolve and become such a fan. I do think that is her seeing me do this. And this is a change in our household too. I've, in the past have either taken breaks in my career to be more supportive in our family life, or have taken jobs where I'm consulting and I'm working when she's not necessarily seeing me work, like when she's at school. And now this job is really different. It's a lot more involved outside of like typical school hours. And she's been more of a part of it, like physically being there with me. But she does tell me like, Mom, like, look what you guys are doing. And like, I'm so proud of you. And it is important, whichever role that you're going to play as a mother, because being a full-time parent is a very challenging job and rewarding. Like, just choose to do what you do, like with your heart, and be proud of that work, because every job is contributing, and every job has a place in society, and just do it with passion and do it with love. And I think that's what your kids pick up on the most, is seeing you pursue and do what you love.
Right.
No matter what it is.
And how proud are you to play a role in the impact that your daughter or other young girls are able to witness and see and experience? And just the logo itself, right? That process has been so lengthy, and it included you working with some agencies and outsourcing as well, but also building that solid foundation yourself. How proud of you? How proud are you of what you build, and to be able to see that crest on every single jersey?
I think it sinks in more and more every day. I'm not usually one to like do a big pat on my own back. I really like to pat other people's backs, but I do think like it's growing on me, like the impact that we're having, and then we're building something that reaches so many people, and every day is reaching more and more. And that, kind of like the hope and the dreams and all of the things that comes with the badge. Like, the badge means so much for young women. And we're seeing, young boys at games wait in line for autographs. That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're seeing, we have such a great cross section of fans. Like, the fact that this group of people and players and coaches and executives have created something that is so meaningful to people. Yeah, it's really impactful. So I think the biggest thing is just like taking a step back sometimes to, observe it, like looking at some of the merch, looking at some of the slogans that have come out of the campaign and that I've had the opportunity to work on, and like, they're living. Like, I see them out. People are wearing things on the street. And I had a young dad pass me in the dog park, and I had one of my Wild pieces of merch on, and he had like literally pushing this little bassinet, and out of nowhere he's like, "Go Wild!"
Yeah,
and I was like,
that.
"This is amazing."
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The brand speaks for itself, but even associating the players and individuals with the brand, regardless of whether they have the kit on. I was at the Superstore grocery shopping a few weeks ago, and I know I mentioned this to you because I was so proud of what you all have built. And a 4 or 5 year old boy, like max 5 years old, this young boy was sitting in the car. So he was super young. And he goes, Mom, look, it's a Calgary Wild player. And I looked at my outfit and I'm like, wow, I'm not even wearing anything with the Wild. Yeah. And this little boy realizes. So people are watching, people are aware. The fans are growing, the passion is there. And I can't thank you all enough for that, of course. Can you share a bit about what the brand and the color scheme, not the brand more so, but what the badge stands for? Because it might look a little simple, but we know that it has a deep story behind it. And the color scheme was very intentional.
Yes. So the color scheme, it's funny because it might not be so apparent when you look at the red and purple, but we actually started, one thing that the team really agreed on was how incredible the skyline is in Calgary, and we get these beautiful, beautiful colors. And so red, our attack red, is in part attributed to some of the vibrant like pinks and reds and that stuff that we get in the skyline, but it's also Calgary's color. Calgary does have a sport color, and we wanted to be part of that fabric. And then the purple, again, coming out of the skyline, it's our ultraviolet purple. We get these amazing hues. So that's kind of where the two main colors come from. They're really bold and bright together. Like we really wanted something that stood out. And then other elements of it are the brow. So the owl is our insignia, I guess you could say, that's in the badge. And we obviously are the Wild. Owls are local to Calgary area even, and the greater area in Alberta. And they fly under the radar a bit. Like owls are hard to spot. They kind of come out at night. We say that our owl is the all-seeing huntress, and she's ready to strike at a moment's notice. So like that's the kind of play, we wanted to instill that spirit, so that the players kind of have that in their minds when they're out playing. In the brow of the owl, you can see that there's a W shape, which obviously stands for wild, but it also is identifying the sawtooth type mountains that we have in the Rockies around here, as well as like meandering of the rivers, the Bow and the Elbow that come together. And there are the famous five. There's 5 points on a W. It's also a nod to the famous five. And it is also paying tribute to the 5 nations under Treaty 7 that make up our regional territory here.
It's so rich. When you look at it, it looks simple, but there's so much behind it, so much thought behind it. And it's so deep and really connects and resonates with all Calgarians, in my opinion. It's funny because before I came here, I was wondering why on earth we chose red and purple, 2 colors that I've never seen together. And it's funny, during my first visit in October, Lisa Aldrich, the Chief Financial Officer, Sifu, as she likes to say it, she messaged me because that's one of the questions I asked. And she messaged me in the evening. She's like, or was it in the morning sometime? But she was like, look at the sky. Yeah. And I looked out. And immediately, she didn't even say those are the colors of our logo. And that's why she just said, look at the sky. And immediately I knew why these colors were chosen. And it totally makes sense now that I look at it. Wrapping up, I want to say that you've been a leader that I think leads with a lot of grace, but also hasn't been a micromanager. Just with working with you, and I appreciate that. Working with you, you trust in others' abilities and capabilities. You definitely steer them in the right direction. Just with this podcast, I've never had experience hosting a podcast. I've been on podcasts, and you definitely have led me in that role and shared a lot of insights because of your experience and expertise in this space. What are some leaders that you look back upon who have influenced the way you lead today?
Well, I think our entire leadership team at the Wild, it's actually a big reason why I did make the transition from being a volunteer to actually joining the club. They're all amazing female leaders, Lisa, Lara, and Deanna. I felt like I had so much to learn from them, and it was an amazing opportunity to continue to work with them. I think some of the qualities in leaders that I really admire is, leading by example, not seeing vulnerability as a weakness, but as a strength. I think some of the best leaders and mentors that I've had relationships with are people who I feel like I've been able to be very open and honest with, and they really respect that, and we use it to build strengths as opposed to seeing it as a weakness. I do think that like the leading by example, all of the leaders on our team, they're just as likely to be schlepping boxes around the stadium as they are to be keynote speakers on a panel.
Yeah.
And they all have amazing reputations in our community for being builders. And they work really hard. And I think those are like the impacts that as I grow, I want to continue to build on those skill sets and to be good and fair and understanding with the people that you're working with to help everybody achieve more and to help individuals reach their potential. And I feel like I've had the opportunity to, be mentored and led by many women and men. But I would say that our leadership team, I find very strong in that capacity. It's really been an honor to be able to work with them.
Yeah, no, I echo everything you mentioned about the leadership team. And I think that's why it attracted so many of us. Just meeting Lara, Deanna, Lisa, incredible leaders, yourself early on, you all embody the values that the Wild has. And it's not this performative version of trying to attract players, but it's genuine and it's who you are and your personality. And that's something that I really value and can't thank you all enough for. This was a fantastic conversation. Thank you again for being on the podcast, Kelly. And I'm excited to see this brand continue to grow.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been just an amazing thing to be part of all around. And I'm very excited for the podcast and for everybody to get to learn more about the team and players as individuals because they're all incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. Hey, it's Far here. Be sure to select the next episode and enjoy some more Wild content. See you soon.